Let's kick this off. Welcome, everyone, to the Maven Show.
You're back. Thanks for coming back.
You're brave.
I guess last week wasn't too much of a disaster.
Well, it could have been.
Well, maybe.
But
it was 2 weeks.
We don't know yet.
It was so much of a disaster that it was 2 weeks.
some people like that kind of thing.
That's true. It's continuity.
Self-inflicted pain, repeating that kind of process.
Is that a sadist or a masochist? Which one is? I always get them
Okay, we don't need to go here right now.
I can't remember. Yep.
A sadist likes to inflict pain. So, like, Hitler was a sadist.
Okay.
Or whatever, arguably.
Is there an argument against him?
Well, so whether he likes to, I don't know.
The sadist.
I haven't read my Hitler, so I can't
the masochist
tell you too much about
told the sadist, hurt me. And the sadist said no.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hopefully you have enjoyed maybe some more time with family than you might typically get when, there's just, you're working all the time. And
hopefully you're embracing that as the good thing that it is. Instead of being like, why are my kids screaming during my Zoom meeting? What's going on?
yes.
Yep.
I almost, there was something that I saw that was a pretty good representation of something that I went through recently, having transitioned and off, we normally meet up here at the office and spending a lot more time at the office. And it's like, well, now that we're working from home, there's this, kids are constantly like this. Well, my kids have done a better job recently with this, but initially transitioning to spending more time at the home office, it was something they kept coming in and out, and you know how kids are. They ask the craziest off-the-wall questions.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is pretty indicative of what the experience has been for me personally once this quarantine started and I actually was officing from my house with my kids.
Okay.
This is what they sounded like.
What you got?
Have you ever had the desire to write your initials in wet cement?
Ever gone mountain biking?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What's the right tip?
Have you called a plumber to your home lately? How superstitious are you?
How much money would it take to make you spend a night in a cemetery? Do you display this as a trophy?
What?
Do you have a pet? Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you believe in the power of a curse?
Have you had your hearing tested lately?
Planning a trip soon? Can you remember the tallest man you've ever seen?
You love to go a-wandering beneath the clear blue sky.
You notice what big stars real estate agents have become?
Be careful with your personal
Wow, like we're big stars.
Seems to have a mind of its own. Have you ever visited a Chinatown section in a major city?
Have you ever visited a flea market? Have you ever visited a truck stop? Did you ever have a job as a waiter?
Have you noticed how many successful restaurants are theme-based these days?
What show was that? I mean, it seems like Unsolved Mysteries, but
Oh, my gosh. That is so funny.
Oh, man. I don't know which one of those was my favorite. Oh, have you ever visited Chinatown?
Major city. Have you ever noticed how big stars, celebrities, real estate agents are these days?
I feel like there was a lot of relevant questions in there.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, that was relatively, that was a pretty good representation, at least initially.
Yep.
When we started officing a little bit more from the house, and
because they don't know what to do with you, because it's like, hey, I go from getting to see you 2 or 3 hours a day to like, you're here all day. Let me just talk to you.
Just one.
And of course, mom's like, yeah, sure, go.
It was just one question after another.
Why aren't you going to work?
Yeah.
Why can't we see the Hoffmans?
Can you play
What's
with
a
me?
virus?
How long? Yeah. Are you going to be here all day? Do you have to go to the office later? Are we going to play outside?
Do we have masks? Are we going to be safe from the coronavirus?
Did you charge my battery for our little toy car? There was like, can we go for a walk later? If we go for a walk, can we take Izzy?
Oh my goodness.
What? And of course, there's the one that was like, "Hey, can I brush your hair later?" Can I?
Yeah, we
Dad,
saw.
can
We
I
all
do your
saw
hair?
that
And
photo.
that was
Yeah.
one she
Yeah.
ended up posting.
All the bows and everything, all that, yeah.
Around again. Wow.
You guys show Grammy and Papa Daddy.
That was a pretty
You look
classic
very
dad
pretty.
moment.
So
Yeah.
that was pretty good. One thing that I was able to do a whole lot more of recently was actually read to them, which they love.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
What's their favorite book? What's the go-to book?
boy, there was that one by. They really like that one. It's what's her name? Is it Ree Drummond? Ree Drummond, Pioneer Woman,
Oh,
and she's basically talking about like it's just her book. That's her version of when she was living in the city, and then she moved to a farm, and then all the different things that was really neat that she started to do. So
gotcha.
I thought
they
it would be
really
like,
like that one a lot.
Is this like a children's book? Like,
Uh-huh.
here's how you can cook in a cast iron skillet. Here's how you can. No.
Yeah. No, that's
Training them young.
I didn't realize she had a children's book, so
Yep.
I just thought she had pretty plates and pans.
and just amazing recipes with just
Yes.
just
Cinnamon
delicious.
rolls. It's the cinnamon rolls.
Ooh, I've never had
Delicious.
Yeah.
a Pioneer Woman cinnamon rolls. Can you throw that up
Pretty
on the screen so everyone can see that?
Just drool all over it.
So,
In case you didn't get enough of that with our snack draft last time.
oh man, how fantastic! So, yeah, but that's along with getting more time with family, and there's also been some more downtime for watching television shows with my
That's right.
wife, right? And so, Jeremy came up with a really good idea for a segment that we should do here. At least I think it's a really good idea. But the idea, I guess, is there any part of this you want to explain, kind of how this would work?
I mean, the idea is to view a trailer and try to make a snap judgment on that trailer about whether or not that show would either be a show you would want to binge watch.
Yeah.
Or, so, sit and watch it for hours, or
Binge.
that you would expect to make you cringe.
Yes.
Just
Is
very.
this show binge-worthy or cringe-worthy?
Bam!
Yeah.
Bada boom.
Let's kick it off. So, the first one we got to check out here. Okay. Full disclosure, I've already watched it. Okay. This is one I've already watched.
Yeah, most of these are ones you picked so that we can just make our judgments over here.
Yes, we
Yeah,
kind of
right.
want to get. I picked these. Most of them I picked, but we wanted to try to produce like what would be our what's our gut reaction,
Yep.
what's our immediate reaction as we watch it. Just as natural as we can here. So let's go ahead and start the clip for the first one.
All right. You going to give us the title?
This series, it's available on HBO. It's called McMillions. McMillions.
I have a story for you.
This story has got everything: revenge,
Drugs. Greed.
Ronald McDonald.
Somebody went to the FBI and said, guess what's happening?
The McDonald's Monopoly game was fixed. The Bureau thought it was just some BS story.
Fast food fraud was not making any list of priorities.
Are you kidding me? This is what makes my fun meter go.
The McDonald's Monopoly game gave millions of people a chance to win.
But from 1989 to 2001, there were almost no legitimate $1 million winners.
The FBI told us the game
Are you
pieces
serious?
are being stolen.
We played that game hardcore.
Religiously.
I'm hearing the name Uncle Jerry thrown around on the phone.
we started focusing more on trying to figure out who he was.
He's a freaking gangster.
Jerry Garbage.
Uncle Jerry was getting the tickets and selling them to other people.
This is $1 million winning ticket, and he's got it in a Ziploc sandwich bag that's not even zipped.
Somebody offers you $1 million, you're going to take it. Unless you got to kill somebody, then you might not.
But you might,
Might not be interested. But
Some people aren't into that kind of thing.
Turned into 53.
The vast majority of these winners, they're good people.
One of my biggest regrets being involved in this McDonald's thing. Yeah.
I just wanted a better life, and I feel like this couldn't come to me if it wasn't meant for me.
I've lost everything.
This thing wrecked so many people's lives.
how much bigger can this get?
What in the
and it
world?
would get bigger. How much further back could it go? And it would go back further. But things go wrong. They always do.
You can get away with something over and over and over. You only got to be caught once.
That looks amazing.
Holy cow! Are you... I don't even understand that. Like, so okay. So is it illegal to do a marketing thing where you're promising that you're gonna give people? I guess they were like legal sweepstakes entries when they were purchasing the meal or something. That is so freaking confusing.
Well, listen to this. It's just like
that is,
because as soon as you,
I mean, it's messed up. It's like I thought I had a chance. So let's get that out there.
Who didn't play that? Who didn't play that all the time?
It was like the lottery meets McDonald's French fries. Just and it's
like
cheap.
Jeremy's
I mean,
favorite food.
I think a big deal of McDonald's, a super sized, whatever was it, McDonald's sized French fry. That's cheaper than a lottery ticket, and you could win $1 million.
Oh yeah,
or get a free French fry.
See, we only won food. There was never, that
was us too.
Yeah, we always. Right. I think that was basically the case with anybody that I knew.
Because if it was actually a lottery, it wouldn't have been legal in Oklahoma at the time, right?
I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly how they got around that. Like it somehow they had to get around the fact that it wasn't like gambling or that sort of whatever would make it to where it was illegal in particular states at the time. Or something.
Right.
But obviously they were able to work around that. And it was like, for their sales, it was, and they talk about this, how incredibly impactful it was for sales, in particular for McDonald's. And people don't necessarily, they think about McDonald's, it's just like it's booming all the time. Mm-hmm. It's just like, yeah, there's something absolutely true to that. However, the boost that occurred as a direct result of the game
is part of
was
what made
nuts.
What a brilliant concept is that, by the way, just in general.
Very good marketing.
But then it's like,
incredible.
Fraud, like FBI investigated fraud.
And when you see it, I think a lot of people see that and they want to say, the immediate reaction to that is just like, so you're telling me it was rigged. So McDonald's rigged it. Well, what unfolds when you watch it is you see how like there's different places along. They introduce early on how it's not as necessarily, it doesn't have to be the case that it was McDonald's who actually rigged it. Right.
Oh, so it may not have actually been McDonald's doing it?
So they introduced this as like, these are different options.
Well, who did it?
So there are different options that they present at the beginning of the show where it's okay, well, maybe McDonald's did this. Uh-huh. They have to hire an independent marketing firm to do it, right? Who then also hires somebody to actually produce the tickets. And then there's like security associated with all those different places to ensure that there's credibility all along the way in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can have so limited number of like the best ones.
Oh yeah, so it wasn't, there's a limited number of people involved in it, but it was, they introduced this early on, how they open up to, hey, there's a lot more possibilities to who actually could be involved in this. So because as soon as I saw, at the beginning, I'm like, so McDonald's rigged it? Uh-huh. And as that plays out early on, they at least reveal enough to be like, it's not as simple as that. So
3 words come to mind: class action lawsuit.
You heard it here first, folks.
Jeremy's over there. You need to play that back. I'm over here. I'm going to take notes. For it.
Jeremy's ready to sue.
I want a lifetime supply of free McDoubles.
Not even for the
That's all I need.
Yeah. You were robbed.
You robbed me of my childhood. This was my childhood.
Like playing the game was.
Yeah. We definitely we would like buy. I mean, I remember buying more food than normal.
Oh, totally.
I think that played a role in my obesity.
Well, yeah, you could probably sue him for that, but that would be a different action.
But you watch this show play out a little bit, and as it plays out, obviously I don't want to give too much away here, but not too far into it, you realize, okay, this could potentially involve the mafia family, the Columbos. right? And there were
the mob is involved?
There's like 4 or 5 families who really ran like the mob at the time, like most influential at the time. And the Colombo family was one of them, right?
Wow, this gets deep.
And so as it plays out, you're just like, how crazy does this get? You know, and then I can't remember if he mentioned this on that promo, but at one point they had 8 people that they had come up with. There was a list of names that was just like, okay, we can go this far. And then as they track the evidence where it goes, it's like, we have 53 names here.
Oh my gosh.
Like as
for
far
potential people involved in
for potential people who know about it, are involved in it. Like, it gets nuts.
I'm afraid you may have already said too much. You need to don't give away the story here. I want to watch this.
It is. Yeah. I don't want to just give away the farm here.
To vote on it.
Binge. I mean,
binge.
Listen,
absolutely binge.
I would binge for me too. Yeah. I would watch that.
So vote binge-worthy.
That's a winner.
For sure. One of the things, it was like, I wanted to at least mention this because this was really funny. One of the things that they did, who was that guy who mentioned how fun this was. He was one of the detectives on it, right?
Oh yeah.
And one of the things they set up was this: we're going to interview one of the winners, right? It's $1 million winner. His name is Michael Hoover, and they had let's present him with a big check, and they wanted to use that as, hey, here's where we can ask some questions, try to get some more info. And they're interviewing him, you know, seeing how he responds to particular questions. Does his story make sense? All the things that you would want to do when you're investigating that, trying to follow that rabbit trail all the way down. And one of the detective there asks him, he goes just like, so what'd you spend that money on? And he goes, well, one of the things I'm actually getting a boat. And he goes, really? What's have you picked out a name that you'd put on the back of that boat? And the name that he had picked out was, he immediately goes, I'd put on the back of that boat, I'd put Ruthless Scoundrel.
Why?
Oh, yeah. And
indicating that
3 or 4 minutes later into this episode, 3 or 4 minutes into this episode, they've wiretapped the guy's phone. And shortly afterwards, they get the recording of the phone call where the guy has contacted another person that they suspected could be involved. And he's talking to him, and he's like, you wouldn't believe it. These guys took me to the beach and interviewed me and took me to the store and asked me all these questions, and they bought everything I was saying. And they both were just yucking it up, laughing at the FBI and their investigators.
Wow.
You know, just being like,
and they're being listened to, because
they thought that, you know, McDonald's had just hired like a marketing team to shoot this interview process.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, these guys, you know, the guy, the $1 million winner, who's part of whatever is going on with the corruption there, he's called one of his buddies and he's telling him, they don't suspect anything. I even told him, guess the name I told him I put on the back of my boat. And so they're cracking up while the FBI is on the other line, on the wiretap,
listening to
it, like basically celebrating the fact that they've caught these guys red-handed at that point. So
I may use the word wrong, incorrectly, but irony. I don't know. I never.
You
get
don't have
that
to
word
fight
right.
any of us. That's just Danielle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it triggers me even when I think it, and I'm like, oh, is that right? I don't
Is
know.
it ironic or not?
Don't you think?
Anyway.
A little too ironic.
Yeah, almost. Apparently, that song never uses it right.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, that's more like Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. That would have been a better name of that song. It's just a series of unfortunate events. But without going into that, so Bingeworthy, McMillions on HBO. We watched it through like our Amazon Prime, whatever. We could get it through that, and so that was.
So Amazon, you hear that, folks? You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Bingeworthy, obviously, right? Hands down, I would think.
What's the service like where you can take money from people? Like there's like it's like the
Publishers Clearinghouse.
No, it's like a lot of YouTubers like get money through this system, like where you can like donate to them. Patreon, yeah, you can for us telling you about this, you can send money to our Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
If you enjoy it, just think of us.
Wow, Jeremy, going in with a hard ask real fast.
we don't have a Patreon.
Man, how nostalgic though is just like, because we all have those memories of playing that game with McDonald's and that whole thing. I actually, one of the things that I remember regarding McDonald's was, anytime I think of McDonald's, I think of growing up, when we would have like gaming, like Halo parties at a friend's house, right?
Yep.
And it was just, I'm not kidding, it was like 4 different televisions in different rooms playing Halo.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd take a break and we would go order what I'm sure was an obnoxious amount of food for whoever was working at McDonald's.
Way too many nuggets. Way too many nuggets. Yeah.
Dropping $100 on a $1 menu. Like, just crazy. So
the memory that comes to mind for me the most with McDonald's, it's at Magnolia House, like 4 guys piling into a single cab F-150.
Yep. And
going through the drive-thru.
Who hasn't been through a McDonald's drive-through with Aaron?
You know,
at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you would come back from home. You'd come home from UPS.
Yes.
And
I would get off at the clock at UPS just in time. They'd switch to breakfast.
Ooh.
So that was
always
always
a big plus for you.
I timed that. I timed that pretty well. So
did you pick your shift based on that?
I didn't. Despite how much of a fat kid I am, I did not quite go that far.
Oh,
so
it's a shame.
But yeah, so obviously binge-worthy. Moving on to the next one. This on Netflix, the title of this is...
This one I've never even heard referenced anywhere.
100 Humans? Is that?
Well, that's not the entire.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's not the entire title. I'm sorry here. 100 Humans, Life's Questions Answered. It's the title of this. Again, binge-worthy or cringe-worthy?
Is this Jonathan Brakes?
Which sex is better?
What is with you and feet? Reward or punishment?
Is there a right way to use the toilet?
Absolutely. We're going to find out the ugly truth today.
Let's do this.
100 human beings place themselves at the mercy of us.
Is this like Family Feud?
Questions we all have about human behavior. We're conducting an experiment that will require a little torture.
Who wouldn't want to be tortured?
Does a man's swagger send a message of reproductive potency?
The guy that danced the best has the highest sperm count?
Boom.
Sperm results are in. You are about to have your memory tested.
I forgot the butter.
You can't forget the butter.
I'm big and I use butter.
Does time really fly when you're having fun?
Turn it up. Can good looks keep you out of jail? Whoa. Someone like that needs to be put away for a long time. Happiness. How do we get it?
The people who were doing it for fun may perform better.
I'm like really good at this.
Are you ready to torture some humans?
That was probably one of the worst nights of my life. Jeez. That is what this show is all about. This is 100 Humans.
Women have menstrual cycles. But what about men? Is there a menstrual cycle?
There is not.
Maybe. We don't know yet.
We'll see that there is not.
You will see that there is not.
There's that one.
Huh.
Any reactions to
It's
that?
a pretty interesting. It's a pretty
Can we just
interesting
go ahead and
concept
vote on this one? We could talk about it.
Like I'm.
Yeah, we can vote. Go for it.
Well,
go vote, Jeremy.
Well, maybe we should talk. We can talk it out
Let's hear your
first.
vote.
I'm torn. Listen, I'm torn because there's some level. You know how there's some shows where it's such an embarrassing moment when you see somebody doing something incredibly embarrassing to themselves somehow.
Like Wipeout.
Oh, it's so hard to watch. Like there's just. I'm more fun like Wipeout or like those sort of things where people are just they just end up hurting themselves somehow.
Right.
Okay, but maybe I'm a terrible person. That's on the table too.
What's Wipeout?
Oh, it's like a sports kind of. They're doing ridiculous obstacle courses.
Okay,
that
is
are
that the
designed to
one-
make people look like complete fools?
Y'all remember the one that there was a show like that, but it was like all Asian people, and they would dub in English voices over.
I don't remember what it's called. I've definitely seen a few episodes
that
of that.
shows. I always love that.
I feel
show.
like there's more than one of those shows. Surely there is, but I'm certainly that level of embarrassment I'm more comfortable with, and I laugh at that.
Like the slapstick.
Yeah. But just it's more just the there's a level of embarrassment and a certain kind of embarrassment where I'm like, I just can't even. That's hard to watch
because it's like it's not even Fear Factor type. Oh, this is gross, and you're having to do like horrible things. It's like you have to tell me a bunch of really personal details and or like have your sperm count tested.
Yeah.
Like, that's super personal. Like, I'm sorry.
Like, this makes me so uneasy watching that. And not only watching it, but then like you're watching the immediate judgment of whoever else is actually on the show.
So for me, y'all know that I want to give people the benefit of the doubt
Sure.
in general. Like I'm just extra patient, and that's the only thing about, like, I would almost have to watch an episode just because I got to give people a shot, you know? But
that show, you would want to give that show a shot?
I'd give it a shot.
Okay.
I would.
So is there such a thing as cringeworthy for you if you feel like you have to give it a shot?
I still watch cringeworthy things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I like, yeah.
That's part of why you kind of watch certain things because of how cringy you feel like they're going to be.
But I do wonder for that show, like I imagine, I'm judging it, and I think it would be like, to get on there, you would have to have some sort of tryout, you know, like.
Don't you have to?
Like American Idol.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would be like, you know how they try to get people sometimes on there? Like there's the guy that like butchers the Star Spangled Banner, or like maybe it's a lady.
So the example like The Office with Andy, right? It's just, I'm going to sit here and cry and sit here and cry. You know that when they made that whole thing? Made it a ringtone? Kevin, he's got his own bar at that point, and he's talking about how like people actually dance to this.
You gotta go. You can't just sit here and cry.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, here's the song.
Like this, you know, slept in my car last night, quit my job, burned all my bridges.
So shows do that where they take what's obviously somebody who cannot perform whatsoever.
I think they would try to get that's how you get on that show.
That's closer to the embarrassment thing that I'm like, I have a hard time even even that.
Because you know these people got judged hard to even get here,
dude.
And the point is to like ridicule them as people. Basically, like to find something to think, you're a twisted.
And I generally think most of those people have a lot more invested in. They're hopeful that this is like, this is a shot for something beyond whatever they were previously.
Chance.
This is my chance.
I'm gonna get my break.
And it's so not. And it's just. So
have you watched the cooking show Nailed It?
Oh no, I haven't.
Really similar, because it's basically designed. You know how. There are these, like, people will try to make these different cakes or different, like, really complicated, whatever, baked goods.
Because those could look incredible. Like when people are just like
it's
the
like
best
the cat,
in the world
the cat.
who do that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes people try to replicate it and they look like total disasters. It's trying to manufacture that on TV.
Yeah.
So
that one got one episode for me. I tried it one episode, and
we
was
watched
enough.
a couple, but it's that same kind of embarrassing. It's like you're setting them up to fail.
So
you're
you would at
literally
least give it a
putting them on
shot.
here to make fun of them.
I would give it a shot, but
Bingeworthy, barely.
Oh no! Well, no. I mean, it's not binge-worthy. It's cringe-worthy, but I would watch an episode.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably watch an episode to see what we got.
I'm torn on the whole, like, I love the whole experimentation sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I know.
The
science thing.
The science.
It always gets my attention.
The results of it, I think, would be fascinating on the tests.
Like, what's the data?
But seeing the people, the experience of it would be kind of like.
I just feel like they're going to go places that I'm not one to go right now.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of like how scientific is Family Feud. Like how scientific is
that's
that?
what it looks like. It's like the research project behind Family Feud.
Yeah.
Like that's what
What's their, what were their statistical, how you try to adjust for things,
yeah.
They're not trying to adjust for that on Family Feud.
They're just trying to get the funniest answer.
All of us would at least watch one of the episodes, probably. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I cringe. I might be less interested in watching one of the episodes than you guys are at this point, but it's.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough.
I'm cringing.
Yeah. Are we comfortable with that? We're going to say it's cringing.
Where it's cringe.
Because it's kind of indecisive where we're landing on that one.
Yeah.
I feel I would put it in the cringeworthy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Cringeworthy.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably where we all land then is cringeworthy. Okay.
All right.
So sorry to disappoint everybody out there.
I know.
A little cringeworthy on that one. Into the next one.
And you think we're wrong, comment below and tell us why.
That was 100 humans, Life's Questions Answered on Netflix. On to the next one.
I've met the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I've never seen her before.
Here, you will choose someone to marry.
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. Can't say see ya.
Without ever seeing them.
At least it's got Nick Lachey.
Love of your
Am I
life.
right?
That's right. That's right.
Game time.
The pods are now open.
It's an interesting twist.
What are some of your biggest
Hang on.
turn-offs?
So what are you looking for in a woman?
Ethnicity, race, physical appearance. None of that matters.
I'm really starting
to emotionally connect with you.
This could be
That's
a
the best line.
remarkable love story. You're a beautiful person. I don't have to see you to say that.
I'm scared of making the wrong decision. Can't see my life without you. Will you be my wife?
That's brave.
I am engaged to somebody I've never seen before. I hope he's just find me very attractive.
Is this like a parody?
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a real
It's
thing.
either a parody or like a train wreck waiting to happen.
The physical attraction is on par with the emotional connection.
She has become the most important thing in my life.
I want you to be 1,000% open with me.
There's my student debt.
You're
Here we go.
guy. She's a black woman. Let's talk about that.
This marriage could tear me and my family apart.
This was fate. This is what was meant to be.
You're bringing me down.
You're bringing me down!
Don't insult me like that.
We're getting married and it's scary.
We're getting married and that's scary.
Do you take her to be your lawful wedded wife?
Uh-oh.
I cannot do this!
Runaway bride.
Oh, no. Oh, my
Love
gosh.
is blind.
Oh, my gosh. Ooh.
Man,
I love it. I've never watched anything like The Bachelor or anything, whatever. I just not.
I've
into
seen
that
more of The
sort of thing.
Bachelor than I'd like to think.
I love that
Recently?
Not recently, but
Okay.
in my life.
I had to ask.
I love that it goes all the way through. Yeah, Jeremy. I love that it goes all the way through to like the marriage problem kind of thing. It's like, I hate you. What's wrong with
I'm going
you?
to throw this out here real quick. So those people, all right, you're on that show, and I'm assuming that you think it's a good idea.
Right.
You're on that show.
This is
and
better
you've
than
gotta
my
be on that-
alternatives for
Yeah.
how I can find a spouse.
No, this is just like better than whatever Matchmaker, Farmers Only, or whatever these other sites are. Like, this is a better shot at getting this right for you if you're on this show. So this element of this is not going to work out, right?
Right.
It's like, does that not enter into the thought processes about, let's just say we get to the end of this and I'm walking down the aisle to marry somebody. Is there no sort of questioning whether or not like you've messed up somewhere along the way in the process?
Like, what are the decisions that have brought me to the point where I'm going to
just to question it, whether or not this is actually the best route to take?
Yeah, right.
To make that decision for people, this is the best route.
Because it's like, just by virtue of it being one of those shows, you know, the people are so like attention seeking and to some sense pretty needy.
Hey, they're
already
really just
in that
looking
way.
for somebody to emotionally connect with.
I feel like I'm really emotional.
I've seen
He
enough.
says that as though it's a surprise that he can like emotionally connect with a human being.
First of all, if a dude, ladies out there, if a dude has ever said anything like that to you, just
run.
Just
Dun, dun, dun.
you need to start asking some more pointed questions because that dude he's somewhere else. He's got a different strategy and a different game he's playing. What were you gonna say?
I really feel like I'm emotionally connecting with you. Why don't you just do it instead of talk about it? Like,
When you watch shows like this, I've watched enough Bachelor and seen enough behind the scenes that you have to suspend belief for the show because there is a lot of scripting and they force things into the script, and that's just kind of part of what you sign on to into the show.
Yeah. That's got to be true.
And I know, like in talking that.
No, you got to be right about that. Yeah.
That a lot of those lines are not real. Yeah. A lot of those things are being forced.
But what about that? So think about that if that's true, right? And this is what I said initially on this. If it's all the more forced and it's all the more scripted, but the end is you're one of the people potentially getting married at the end of that thing.
Gracious.
Like, wouldn't you question all the more the legitimacy and the genuine nature of the thing itself?
It's like they've scripted me this whole way. Yeah.
That's great.
I'd want a big signing bonus if I'm one of the people getting married. This better come with retirement.
Oh my gosh. No, so honestly, the most interesting part of the show to me, the thing that would make it slightly watchable in my mind would be the fights. Like watching the train wrecks of the relationships.
Sure. Yeah.
Of like, oh yeah, that's what happens when you build it this way. That's how that works out.
Yes.
One thing that would actually make an interesting show that I would watch. So like, let's just say
Like
you have
this?
like that. So listen. So you have that trailer, right?
Stay with
and
me
about
here.
2.5 minutes into it, it makes a turn, and you realize it's a fictional show, and it's a dystopic future, and it's it's got the pods, they're going over it, and then and then things went utterly terrible, and it's a murder thing or something, or like the robots, like there's robots, and
wrong.
yeah, because like the pod thing looks really futuristic, and like there's even like this like isolated aspect, they're not interacting with other people, and the next thing you know, like people are getting killed. Like, oh man,
this is relationships post-COVID.
It's like a Bachelor meets Westworld.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Somehow
I would watch that.
Somehow
maybe.
introduce like Alien into it.
Oh man, this
would be a great show. This would be a great show.
Rom-com versus xenomorphs.
Oh, dude.
So I'm gonna
I
go.
like your idea.
Yeah, I like your idea better.
Binge-worthy.
I didn't watch that, but
binge-worthy.
I'm cringing.
I got. Oh man, it's cringeworthy.
I might watch episode 9 to see
That's a great
the
point.
conflict, but otherwise I can throw the rest of it out.
That is the one thing. Like whenever like all my Facebook friends started talking about like how this last Bachelor ended, that's when I went and watched. Apparently, like you need to go watch it. There's like a 15-minute long, like they had an intervention because the Bachelor picked the wrong girl. Like his parents thought he picked the wrong girl, and like they was like, and the mom was like a national hero. Like everybody, like they were talking about this on the Sports Animal, like how much that everybody loved the mom, everybody hated the son.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. That was interesting.
What?
You should go watch that. That is something
His mom
to watch
on national TV was like, "You're making the wrong choices with your life, son."
Basically, yeah, that happened.
It's like-
that happened, and the girl was right there too. It was.
Yeah, I probably need to watch
To
this.
be honest with you, I still don't want to watch it. But that was. I still don't want to watch it, but that's just probably my own personal bias. Cringeworthy.
So what's your vote, Jeremy?
Cringeworthy here.
We're all
here.
cringeworthy. Yeah.
100%.
Love is Blind. Netflix. Cringeworthy. On to the next
Good
one.
pick.
On
Good
to
pick.
On
That
to the
was-
next one.
That was a trailer worth cringing at.
The next one we've got here on Bingeworthy or Cringeworthy. What is the title of this one? The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
This show is a little off the beaten track, and it may be unexpected and surprising. So, taste it and enjoy.
Oh my! At least he laughs at
My name
himself.
is Jeff Goldblum. The name of the show is The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Is this real Jeff Goldblum?
Yes.
Be
Oh, my
forewarned,
goodness.
I'm in the show a lot. I'm sort of fascinated by a lot of things. Sneakers.
These shoes are worth $12,000 to $15,000.
Oh, boy. Denim. Ice cream.
Hey, can I guess what kind of ice cream you want?
Jewelry. Isn't that something? Tattoos. Whoa.
Is it gonna keep vibrating like that?
Yeah.
I like that.
And then, every once in a while, I break into song.
Oh, no.
Okay, anyway, what were we talking about? This is what the show is going to be like. So if any of this tempts you or wearies you, you can make a decision right here. I follow my own actual curiosity.
I'm
You
sold.
believe in ghosts?
I'm
Can you
so
sing anchors
sold.
away? Can you make a sound like a seagull?
Notting Hill. You ever see that movie?
Could you eat my skin? What other Irish songs do I know? If I were meat that we'd put in a Korean barbecue, what would I be?
A pork belly. No, not because you have a belly. No.
I'm not here to be didactic or professorial in any way.
It's like a fun house.
I know nothing. That's the premise. I'm a humble student. And, in fact, a kind of a late bloomer. A late gold bloomer.
Wow. That's interesting.
I might adjust my schedule this week to fit that in to whatever we were doing over the next 2 to 3 days.
Like in the middle of episodes.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm instantly fascinated.
See, that trailer makes me feel like, the character that Jeff Goldblum is in Jurassic Park, Malcolm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Must go faster. Must go faster.
Must go faster.
Yeah. I think he just is that person. That's what I see. He was just being himself in Jurassic Park.
What a weird person.
Very weird.
It's like Dirty Jobs. It's like the Mike Rowe
That's
approach.
so funny. The first time when I first watched that, right? That's what it made me think of.
Right.
Because there's like this, the genuine curiosity he seems to have in that experience is just, it's infectious.
Yeah.
That's how
like,
I think
what is
of
this
when he
really
does
like?
that. And Jeremy's you're over there like,
the Dirty
dude,
Jobs guy,
nauseous.
he seems genuine.
No, you don't think Jeff Goldblum is like that?
He's a weird
dude.
Well, yeah, he's a showman kind
like,
of thing. But as far as like his interest in this stuff,
I just can't believe him. I don't know.
I think he's genuinely. I think that's him. Like that's just how he is as a person. Period.
I don't like him as a person.
then you might not like the world according to Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, I'm sold. I'm sold on that. So that's on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yep.
The World According to Jeff Goldblum. That is, I'm sold on it. It's cringeworthy,
to
obviously,
me, it's cringeworthy.
for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, cringeworthy.
I'd give it a chance. I'm in a weird middle place. I don't know if I'm quite as bingey on it as you are, but I'm not cringing. It's more just like that could go one of two ways. That's probably pretty interesting.
Yeah. No, so. I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated. I'm drawn in. All right. And then our last to consider for bingeworthy or cringeworthy.
Look at that. That's waterproof color right there. That's waterproof.
Our biggest challenge is us.
I am cursed with this mentality of competitiveness.
Competition was an addiction.
Every day was a battle.
Dennis, get up here.
Boom. They don't hear it, see Dennis for 48 hours.
No matter what we did, it seemed like it was a story.
Scotty was being selfish.
When the trust is broken, it's sort of shocking.
I never hated Scotty.
6 championships in 8 years.
We were the greatest team ever.
What time is it?
I'm gonna ridicule you until you get on the same level with me.
That man getting a free run of me.
It was his team.
My mentality was to go out and win at any cost.
That was the craziest part right there to me is the full access for the 97-98 season.
Oh, yeah. And so a bunch of stuff. This thing has got, this 10-part series has a bunch of stuff that hasn't, it's never been seen.
Nobody's ever seen this footage.
Yeah, never been.
Like, that's insane to me that they've kept that secret for that long.
Once you reach the top, where do we go from here?
At some point, the team is not going to meet the expectations.
I like the way you think.
What time is it? Game time.
Not a good day for Michael Jordan.
Pippen is now demanding a trade.
The expectations are certainly high.
Come on, think positive, man. Yo.
In the post-game locker room, the word I heard most was adversity.
Have you learned to deal with that yet?
Take it easy, guys.
The only question, how long can it last?
The most famous man on the planet is here.
Barack Obama.
Did y'all see Kobe? Wow.
This is just everybody in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
What time is it? Game time.
Coming in
June. Psych.
Yeah.
Coming out now.
You got that? It says coming in June.
Wow.
They bumped that up just a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, that's insane.
That massive void because no sporting events are actually occurring at this time.
Oh,
the
yeah.
world needs that.
Bump that up by a few months to go ahead and get that thing airing.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, it actually, the airing of that, right, the first two episodes just occurred just before we recorded this podcast episode. So the first two just aired. It was the largest viewership for any documentary in the history of ESPN.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Because they've got a lot of really good documentaries too.
Oh,
So it's
yeah,
not
the
even
30
like-
for
yeah.
30s,
Oh, yeah.
like all that stuff.
Killer.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
fantastic. This was
Wow.
by far, like, it was the largest one that they've ever had.
Where do you actually view it at? Like where, like, is you have to have like, do they show it? Like, is it
On
aired
ESPN, I think ESPN and ESPN Plus is where it aired.
Okay.
And so they've actually got the rights to it. They've got the rights to it initially, and I think there was a deal. There's a deal that whoever did this documentary and produced it, they made with Netflix, so that Netflix will have it. And they initially said Netflix would have it in July.
Oh, okay.
Right? Which maybe that's going to be earlier. I don't know how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
But then the rights will transfer over to Netflix. So another great deal for Netflix. That's incredible.
That's
But-
crazy because that's like ESPN's Disney. So you got Disney working with Netflix.
Oh, isn't that nuts?
That's crazy.
That's my understanding of who, at least where you're going to be able to see it and watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
Just the whole 10-part series would go to Netflix. So
That's yeah. Aaron dragged us over to his house last night to watch the first two episodes.
We've already started binging this.
That is definitely a binge.
The only thing that's a lie about that is that we could only watch 2 episodes. So
right. Yeah. It's kind of it will be binge-worthy, right?
Yes.
Once it goes to, it's got the 10 parts and they've aired, it's available, it's on Netflix. It's a docu-series when it'll actually be binge-worthy.
Yes.
When it's up for being binge-worthy, it will be. So,
well, the really interesting thing about this is like, so I watched the episodes before I watched the trailer. This is the first I've seen the trailer.
That's the first time I saw the
The
trailer.
trailer is like they're all upset at each other and like just blaming each other, talking bad about each other. Like, is how it's basically pitched. It's like
you read into that because of the music.
Yeah, well,
you do that with the tone of music.
It's like, this is angry music.
It's angry music, and I'm like, no, dude, it's just got that beat.
No, but like the way the clips that they have of each of the different guys talking, it was like their gripes about the different people, and so
even like
that was interesting editing on that.
See, when I saw that trailer, when I first saw the trailer there, I was just like, especially that last minute, right? Because they're each kind of like individual trailers, I think is how they did it. But it was like this. For that last one, there was just like that had that beat, that was just like hitting really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it had like Magic Johnson and Kobe and then just like all these other people and then like Jay Timberlake.
Oh my gosh. JT's here?
JT's here. Like how that happened.
How old is JT?
I don't know. Google it up.
You Google it.
So
different thing.
But they had all these people here and I was just like, this is an event.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought when I saw the trailer.
summit.
I was like, this is somebody's treating this right. Michael gave the approval for this to actually occur, which was a miracle in and of itself. Yeah. So
well, and it's really funny because some of the commentary we were having last night, and I think it's like totally true, is during a window of time whenever everybody's expecting to see LeBron playing.
Totally.
And nobody gets to see LeBron playing, right? And all the conversations surrounding the GOAT and who's the greatest, all this kind of stuff. He basically is using this void created by the coronavirus stuff, like the silence, there's
no other competing sporting events. Like LeBron isn't on the stage. There's not the playoffs.
And he's got everybody's attention, and he's trying to. He's such a competitor that he's trying to win the GOAT conversation right here, right now.
Now, listen, that's just a theory, right? But
I don't know.
Totally
He says some things that it's like his life.
But I don't think it's a far-fetched theory, like in terms of just like hitting the market at the time, which I'm just like, I'm sure ESPN was absolutely all for with the void that has occurred in this. You don't have any other events occurring. So it's like, why wouldn't we push this thing forward 2 months ahead of schedule or whatever? And it's just like, yeah, it was great.
Well, because what's funny is like, so I grew up playing basketball, very aware of basketball. I watched the 98, maybe even the 97, whatever finals, saw all the stuff like happening.
Yep.
I feel like I really didn't know much about Michael Jordan as a person, as like his career as a whole, the impact that he had on the game and like all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like I didn't even really truly have the perspective on that, about how much of a disaster everything was in Chicago before he showed up on the scene, and how it like elevated the game. Like, it's just like the whole game is suddenly this like so much higher level.
And they say this, I think it was the first episode of this series. They actually mentioned how there was an indoor soccer team in Chicago that was actually drawing better ticket, more attention, and they had more butts in the seats for the indoor soccer team,
like in the Chicago Bulls,
in the Chicago Bulls at the time. Yeah, so you mentioned that. It's just like that was a franchise that was not in a good place. In a terrible position.
Entitled couldn't be farther from like the attitude, the actions taken, the way that he actually like conducts himself, carries himself,
focus. All of that he puts into it.
That was really surprising about his attitude. Like, he never, like any of what we saw of the 2 episodes, like there's not really a cockiness there. And I always thought, like with Michael Jordan, the brand is so big, so recognizable.
Well, what's with that? Because it's not like what he says when you listen to him talk. There are plenty of people who would listen to him talk and be just like, how arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, how arrogant does that dude sound? But what is it? What's the quality that he has that diminishes that? Like, it's because he's so self-assured. I mean, even as a rookie, he's being asked. He's being asked as a rookie, how difficult was the transition from college to the NBA?
Not very difficult.
Not very difficult.
Easy.
But then that quote, do you remember that quote where they asked, or the thing he said, like where he's like, he showed up and he wanted to lead the team and he wanted to go at the best people. But then he said, I was a rookie. So I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice.
I didn't have the status,
but
is what he said.
I could go out in there, I could work, and that was my voice.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was awesome.
He literally said as soon as he hit the floor, it was like he was going after the alpha, like going after number one to become number one, but not with his words, not with his voice. Yeah.
And that thing was just like, so I said something about this when we were watching, shortly after we finished watching that thing, but just like, there is stuff that distinguishes him from just all sorts of successful athletes or people, that is this, when even if there's a level of success, but it doesn't go the way where like you wanted it to go or how you wanted it to play out, it doesn't happen the way that you wanted it to happen.
Yep.
But when he's on the bench and he's recovering from this, he gets hurt.
Yep.
And they're limiting his minutes to like no more than 14 a game at the time. And so there's like 13 seconds or something left in the game, right?
Yeah, that's 31 seconds, and they pull him out.
They pull him out
and they're down
because
by
of the
one
minutes restriction, and he's over there thinking like, and he's upset about it. He's like, you got to be kidding
It's
me.
literally the game that will decide whether or not they get to go to the playoffs that year.
Yep. And he's over there just, you've got to be kidding me with this. Like, why would you take me out at this moment? But then the coach is basically, because he's been told by Jerry Krause and the GM of the team is just like, if you play him for more than 14 minutes in a game, you're going to be fired on the spot. So the coach is like,
I got to keep my job.
Michael,
so
I've got to keep my job.
Right.
And so Mike's like, he's not happy about it. But it plays out. Another individual on the team, John Paxson, hits a game winner, right? Clock expires. They win. The first person off that bench celebrating with the team, like you can tell he is just thrilled because just like he says, what mattered? Winning at all costs.
Yeah.
It was winning.
Yeah.
And he's the first dude off that bench celebrating. Now listen,
that was cool.
He wishes that it would have played out whereas like he would have been on the floor. He could have had that contribution at the very end and been like part of what was on the floor, what was the thing. But he doesn't get so caught up in like whining and being a baby because he doesn't get it to play out the way that he would have wanted it to, where he's on the floor to where he can't celebrate and be happy in that moment. That is like the greater good, the greater success. We won at all costs, and that's what matters.
Well, and that whole scene, sorry to interrupt. One thing about that scene, it caused me to actually ask a question. Well, there's a lot of things about this that caused me to ask a question, but that scene or that little stint there in particular made me ask a question that I wanted to hear y'all's opinion on. So far, I feel like the show's building, so one question I've asked is like, so who is the protagonist in the show?
Yeah.
Like, who's the good guy?
Yeah.
Like, right. So I would think it's Michael. I think Michael is going to be the good guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of what this is about, is building
the goat
image for him, right?
Yeah.
Is him being the good guy.
Totally.
But then it made me think, well, who is the antagonist? Like, who is the bad guy? Who is the bad guy in the show? Who do you think?
It's Jerry.
Yeah,
Krause.
it has to be Jerry Krause.
See, that's where I went first.
Yeah.
I went to Jerry Krause.
No, I think Jerry.
Well, and I think like certainly he is the bad guy, but I think there's like some people there that like, there's like some case to be made that like, this was like just one bad decision in a string of like, he made a lot of right decisions too to get there.
Ton.
And a lot of things that Michael didn't like either. Like trading his best friend, all that. But I almost feel like the antagonist is not winning. Like Michael's like story, like the story is like, it is about winning. And like at every turn, that seems to be like, whether it's his foot or if it's like Pippen not playing because he's injured and he's like, not like, who's the bad guy? Like it's constantly not winning. Like that's how much, like he's the villain or whatever is losing to Michael. I don't know. I was just like, that's kind of interesting. Like how often, like that's kind of where it's building towards, and not really a person, but like
that's what makes
people
him
get in the way of winning.
But this is why, in terms, you've got, I think some of how it plays out in the first couple episodes, right? There's that now that we've seen it, and then we don't know how it's going to play out over the next 8,
Yeah.
But it's like, I think I see what you're saying with it, but that's what matters to Michael. And what gets in the way of that is the decisions made by Jerry Krause.
Yeah.
And so it's literally like this in terms of like the human form.
Sure.
It's
the embodiment.
That's why Michael
it's literally
despises Jerry.
Well, and
so much.
Yeah, there is some of that, like Jerry embodies, like he just continuously makes decisions that are not about winning.
It's just like
he explicitly says that. Like he explicitly says that. Yeah.
He gets quoted as being like, he tries to do what looks like he's trying to cover up for the quote that he got caught with, which was that organizations win championships, not players. And what he says is, when he's interviewed about it later, is just like, well, what I said was not players and coaches alone. Like I do believe organizations.
Yeah, right, Jerry. Like that really makes that big of a difference.
Who do you think thinks that only players and coaches do?
Yeah,
you think that Michael thinks that?
Yeah, it's like, why is that even a quote that you have some sort of like association with saying it the way that it sounded like that, where it's like, no, it's organizations should get the credit, not the players.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, and that's where it's like Michael you have Jerry Krause fighting for that credit.
Yeah.
By the end of it, which was like, he should have gotten a ton of credit the way that things had been organized and structured and the team success.
Yeah.
But then when it's like, you don't believe you're getting enough of that shine and that credit, that's where it's like there is a stark contrast between Jerry Krause and what he did at the end, right? Versus Jordan celebrating with his team when they get that win.
Yeah.
But he jumps up and he's coming off the bench celebrating with them because it was about winning.
Yeah, because he wanted to be.
It wasn't about him getting the credit.
He didn't just want to be the best player. He wanted to be the best player on the best team. And he made that clear that like somehow he, and I feel like better than so many other people that you watch in sports, he kept the team aspect of the sport so front and center, where it's like part of his job of being the best player is making his team better, making the other people around him better. That's what you do. And that's part of what made him such a, celebrating that moment, but also like a champion so many times over. So.
Which is crazy because he so often gets said in like a breath by himself, like when they're talked about. But then also the Pippen.
He literally says in there, like, nobody should ever say Michael Jordan. It should always be Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
Like he's the best teammate ever, basically.
Oh, yeah. No, he has a lot of praises for Scottie. He said some other things in there too, but it's like when he thought Scottie was being selfish about the way that whole situation with the contract and him demanding to be traded and all that stuff. There's just crazy stuff that comes out when you watch the documentary and you're just like, you don't realize, like, in the midst of all this insane success, these sort of obstacles are occurring.
Right.
But your theory, you've got a theory, Jeremy, regarding an iconic film that features Michael Jordan, his airness.
I love this theory.
Yeah. So for me, growing up, I didn't really watch a lot of basketball in my house. Like we didn't watch. In fact, I never watched a single NBA game prior to leaving home. That just wasn't a thing.
Well, it was like football. It was more like football.
Yeah,
like
more
football.
OU football was our thing. But my first exposure to Michael Jordan was Space Jam. Like that's how I know him. Like
that's right.
I didn't know about the crazy work ethic. I didn't know about the incredible, win mentality, all that stuff.
You just know about Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. He's a really good basketball player.
You weren't into the Quad City DJs?
Yeah. No.
That was music.
I don't even know what that is.
With the soundtrack.
No idea what that is. But one thing that really got me thinking about watching this documentary and seeing Jerry Krause. So whenever I watch Space Jam, the bad guy.
What did you have in mind?
What about we raise the stakes a little bit?
Interesting.
If we win, you give the NBA players the talent back.
But what if we win?
If you win, you get me. Good deal, boss.
Hey, Doc, you think that's a good idea?
You'll be our star attraction. You'll sign autographs all day long and play one-on-one with the paying customers. And you'll always lose. Do we have a deal?
Deal.
He's a cartoon, obviously, because the movie, but he's just like so rotund, and the way he dresses is unbelievable.
It's like short. The Fred Mertz belt buckle up above the waist. And,
super high waist. Yep. And it was like, this is kind of unbelievable. But then I saw Jerry Krause. And the character, it just like, it clicked and like it made sense as to why they'd created
Mr. Swackhammer.
Mr. Swackhammer.
Is that right? I can't believe that's the name. I don't even remember that.
And it's crazy. I don't think they said it very much. Maybe like one time at the beginning of the show.
Sure. Yeah.
But
he resembled Krause.
Well, what's crazy to me is that with Jeremy's lack of exposure, when he saw Jerry, the first person he thought of was Swackhammer.
And I didn't know. He expressed this to me previously, and I was just like, that's a really interesting theory.
Yeah. Well, and what's the other piece on that? As far as the release date?
Oh, well, it actually was the timing on it. It didn't come out. It came out in 96.
Okay.
So it did come out prior to, it came out prior to them.
Did it come out in 96? Space Jam came out in 96?
96.
Is that right?
Now, I don't know what time in the year in 96 in relation to championships and,
Yeah.
But it came out in 96. I mean, there still is this weird thing in the, like, you know, Pippen feeling like he's getting shorted on money.
Right.
And there's like this greed aspect in the character, Schwackhammer. Even just the way it's like, I mean, like even down to the fact that like Jerry Krause has a mole right here. And if you look at the character, if you look closely at the character, there's like a spot on his face here.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The way he dresses, similar, like they're buttoned up. They button up both characters, like, or, you know, button their shirts all the way to the top. And there is just this whole aspect of like treating basketball players like commodities.
Yeah, you mentioned it's just like there's that scene where he's got him. It's like he wants to capture Jordan and take him to
Moron Mountain.
Moron Mountain. Yeah,
he wants to take him to Moron Mountain, and he's got him like on a leash.
Yeah, he's got
something?
him on a leash to where when he plays 1-on-1 with the kids, he can't win because he's leashed up.
And you'll always lose.
It's weird. That's
Danny
true.
DeVito. Just
He'll sign autographs all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the theory, Jerry Krause, general manager of the Bulls, possibly being
the inspiration
for
Mr. Schwackhammer.
Mr.
Schwackhammer. Yeah.
It's a crazy theory.
Sweet. Okay.
No, but I thought like the clips of his mom where she's talking about how like what was the quote was like, "Don't wait for someone to give you something, go out and earn it." Like basically,
I love that.
If you really want it,
Was that in the
work hard over
context of
summer.
which? Was that in the context? Was that his sophomore year that he missed the team?
It was whichever year that he missed the team.
It was after his sophomore year, I think. He
Yeah.
came home and he was like distraught, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
she was obviously
She's like,
disappointed.
get out
about
of your
it too, and was just like,
but it's like get out of your pity party and go like earn it.
the fact that she said that,
Yeah.
you know, and it was just like, and even what was great on the documentary too was just having her there relaying that story.
Oh yeah, and watching like his response
and
to
his
it.
response to like the letter that he had written her
that
from college, and him watching him see that when he's like holding an iPad, like watching that and seeing just like emotionally, you can tell just like what that was doing to him at the time as he's watching that. Jordan's watching that.
Yeah,
that was neat to see that too.
Yeah.
So
that'd be a really weird perspective looking back, like you're Michael Jordan worth multi-million dollars and seeing yourself, you know, a letter where he's like telling her, "I've got $20 in my bank account and I don't have any stamps. Can you send me stamps and put some money in my bank account?"
Yeah, that's right.
What a wild.
Oh yeah.
And she says it sounds like a college kid, doesn't it? You know, asking for some money and then asking for some stamps and that sort of thing.
Kind of dates Jordan too. Stamps. He's like, who writes a letter and stamps?
Oh, gosh, why don't you just send him an email?
Oh man, no, he's doing fine. He seems to be doing fine that way at this point.
Yeah,
I think he's pretty set monetarily. So
yeah,
but it's this whole principle of like, and he carries it forward even after his success of like, no matter what has happened before. Failure, success, whatever. I think about it pretty often in terms of success because people rest on their laurels, but it's like the past successes that you've had never justify your present failure.
Oh yeah,
like
totally.
You have to actually go out and win today, and whatever that means for you, and like doing.
Well, you mentioned
today,
the entitlement thing.
It doesn't matter what happened in the past. Like it doesn't matter what happened in the past.
Consistent with that on the entitlement thing.
Yeah,
he was just like there never was this entitlement. The perspective or whatever that is, right. That's just like you talk about something that's overran in our culture currently that exists everywhere, like this spirit of entitlement that people tend to have, unfortunately. And it's like he didn't have an ounce of that when it came to even the crazy amounts of success. It was just like, you know, there they are. It's the ring ceremony where they're celebrating the previous championship that they won, championship number 5 in 7 years.
Yep.
And he's being asked something about it. And he's just like, really want your all support as we go for number 6. It's just, they're literally celebrating.
Yeah.
Celebrating that they won their 5th championship in 7 years.
But he doesn't really care.
He's already mentally in a place that's just like, This is about winning title number 6.
Yeah.
This is already about, like, it's the next successful thing.
Yeah.
That's where he's at, and
Yeah.
he's trying to push everybody that direction. It was just so the opposite of, like, resting on whatever past successes you have.
Yeah. Yep.
No, that's amazing watching that. And I thought that there were different pieces regarding his own personal motivation. You know, it's just the relationship with his dad and his
That's very
brothers.
interesting.
It's just, I thought that was fascinating.
Oh yeah,
with
and how like his brother would like literally have a fist fight with him.
Yeah.
Like his brother said, like if you beat me in a game of 1-on-1, like it would get physical. Like I would punch him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Reminded me of playing with Aaron. But
I watched some older documentaries, and it was interesting because they would talk about his brother being competitive, but it wasn't as raw as it is in this documentary about him being like, no, like if I won, like he was going to fight me. He was going to fight me, but I still wanted to win. And it was also really that I thought that was really insightful about his dad, and like how his dad showed a lot of favor. It seemed like his dad showed some favoritism towards his older brother.
Yeah,
and that like basketball was his outlet for garnering his dad's attention. That was really
Michael even
interesting.
said, I mean, he said
That
some
was-
stuff in there that was about that specifically, wanting that from his dad, like the validation.
Mhm.
You know, that was something he mentions that particular scene in the documentary. I thought was just really, really, really interesting.
yeah,
when he
and
goes
that's
into that.
actually one of the things that undergirded why he wanted to win so much for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's just this underlying motivation, wanting that from his father.
Yeah.
And then you have Scottie Pippen's situation that he grew up in with, was he one of 12 or did he have 12 other brothers and sisters in the
I don't
house?
remember exactly, but
They had so many people living in the house. 2 of the individuals, he mentions how like they're sitting there eating the meal and his dad suffers a stroke. And it's like to the point where his speech, like he can't really talk going forward, basically bedridden.
Yeah.
Like they had, and then he has a brother who suffers an injury at school.
Wrestling in
in a PE class.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like paralyzed
Oh,
or
my
something from the
gosh.
waist down. Or there was like, so they had multiple people in wheelchairs in the house where he grew up. And it was like, I want to say he even said something about just like we grew up, we didn't realize we were poor.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that was his brother. It said like they didn't.
His brother
know,
said-
they didn't know
yeah.
how poor, like that they were even poor. Yeah,
But him growing up in that, and then, you know, so when it comes to like negotiating his contract and wanting security and valuing the security of the money at the time, you know, without a doubt that played into his perspective when he's making decisions that way.
yeah, he made like this long-term contract that was way underpaying him in terms of what he could get on the
7
back
years
end.
for $18 million.
But it was so that he could know that he had the money and he had the money for other people. It was literally like if I got injured, I would still have the money.
Made him at the time, in terms of salary, made him the 122nd in the league for salary.
When
Which
he's
is
one of the
just
best players in the game.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah,
unthinkable that he
Right.
would have that kind of salary.
Yeah. It's like,
and crazy considering like you know they go through all the stats that he led in,
Oh,
or was like
incredible.
either in the league or for the team, like for Chicago.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, and for him to be that low on pay, it makes you what? Like, where is his agent? Like, where is his representation?
well,
Like,
the
really?
the
I
owner
know.
said it was a bad decision. When he was
Yeah.
signing it, the owner said it was a bad decision.
And there is that's one of those things when he says that in that documentary and the owner says it, I almost kind of wonder, I'm just like, did you really say that to Scotty? I'm kind of like, I know you're saying that for the documentary right now, but part of me is like, I don't know if you said that.
Yeah,
to
if
Scotty
you really
at the
think
time.
that, why don't you just offer a better deal?
Yeah.
Like take care of your personnel.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, binge-worthy, absolutely binge-worthy
Totally
when it comes
binge-worthy.
out on Netflix. Like that is a, man, what a wonderful, just an event to celebrate.
Oh yeah. No,
There's so many different stories. It's just like, we're only 2 episodes into this thing right now. There's so many different stories they haven't even talked about Dennis Rodman yet.
Yeah, that's exciting to see.
Not at all.
What
yet,
motivated Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, that's gonna be
Will
interesting.
we ever
How
know?
much? I mean, I don't know what drug of choice he had. I don't know. Like,
It was just, what an interesting thing. So, no, this has been binge-worthy or cringe-worthy. This has been, hopefully, I mean, I've loved doing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is happening again.
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'll be talking about The Last Dance further in the future.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how Aaron could
doubt.
not. So
Yeah. No. Awesome. Thanks
Nice.
for checking us out.
Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Maven Show.
On The Maven Show, I'm Aaron Hoffman. That's Josh Malone, Jeremy Brown saying,
see ya.
See you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for watching The Maven Show. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for all the latest clips and episodes. Also, comment below with what you thought was the most interesting or helpful from this video. And if you want to help us out, please like and share our posts on social media. Thanks so much.